Hello, my name is Marcello with 3S Shooting Sports Software. Today I'm going to show you quite a bit about scores. So in today's video we're going to talk about how to check and enter scores. We're also going to talk about printing scores posters using the rolling scoreboard as well as the messaging feature that's available in the rolling scoreboard. And finally I'll show you how to use the trophy report. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up 3S. And since we're going to enter scores, down in the toolbar, I'm going to select Enter Scores. I'm going to be entering in scores for the first event, so I'm going to click First 100 Singles, and then I'm going to click Find. That's going to go ahead and pull up my squad. So now I have some scorecards that are already scanned in. So the first thing that we're going to need to do when checking these scorecards is make sure that our totals match. So here, I have 3 lost targets for a total of 21. That is incorrect. That should be 22. 3, 22, that's correct. 2, 23, that's correct. 3, 22. 3, 22. 5, 20. 3, 22. 5, 20. 4, 21. 7, that should be 18. So we'll go ahead and correct that. 21, 22, 22, 23, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 2, and 23. So now that I've gone ahead and checked that scorecard, typically what we do when we cashier a tournament is whoever checked the scorecard will put a check mark up at the top and their initials. We also always check using red pen. Alright, so now that we know that the scores are correct, I'm going to go ahead and just move this over like it's a piece of paper. And now we'll go ahead and start entering in the scores. So starting from the first person, 22, 22, 23, 22, 22, 20, 22, 20, 21, 18, 21, 22, 22, 23, 15, 23. So as we entered in the scores, you notice how the totals box updates off to the side. That is going to be what's stored in the database. So now that we verified that everything is correct, we're going to go ahead and click Next and move on to squad number 2. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up squad number 2. Here we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20. Now here we can see that this target is actually a dead target. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. That should be 20. But here you can see that it was clearly, oops. Here you can see that that is clearly dead because you can see the D in the box next to the score. And it looks like this person had some issues and dropped out on post 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So this person actually shot 11 targets. So 11. Now we will need to perform what's known as a scores exception for the person on post 5. Typically I'll just circle their name. So continuing on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that should be 18. So whenever you're not sure about a score and it has a circle and a line, if it doesn't directly say what that target was, then it is going to be assumed that it is a loss. So moving on. So this here would qualify as a lost target. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That should become 21. Now, because the scorekeeper didn't write dead or put a D next to this box, we have to assume it's a lost target. And I'll have a little heading down below for where you can find that rule in the ATA book. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this one is labeled dead, so we're good there. Continuing on, 1, 2, 3, 1. Once again, not marked, so 1, 2, 3, 4. That should be a 21. 1, 2, and that was marked dead, so that is fine to stay as 23. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 21. 1, 2, 3. That should be a 22, because this target is marked as dead. All right. So now we'll go ahead and enter in these scores. Now remember, we did have that scores exception for post 5. It looks like their gun might have broke. So what we're going to do is we're going to start entering in the scores. And when we hit that person who's dropped out, we'll just enter 00, and that'll keep on moving the cursor. So 22, 21, 23, 00. 20, 21, 22, 00. Okay, so now that we've entered in these scores, we need to file a scores exception for post 5. So since they only shot 25 out of the entire 100, we're going to click this 5 adjust possible targets, and that's going to adjust for post 5. And now we can say that they only shot at 25 targets, and we'll click post. So now when you are sending in your results to the ATA, they will know to mark this out of 25 instead of the full 100. It won't hurt the shooter's average as bad. So we can hit minimize there. We now have a total. So we'll just click through a couple of them. I've already gone ahead and entered in the rest of the scores for this event. And we'll click close. So now that we know that we have at least 4 scores entered in, we're going to come over here to where it says print scores. That's going to be in between enter scores and master edit. And this is how we're going to print our score posters. So for event 1, I'm just going to print out 1 so we can display it. I'm going to select 8.5 by 11 because that is the size paper that I'm going to use. I'm going to go ahead and click print. So this here is typically the sheet that you're going to go outside and post for the shooters to see everybody's scores on. You just hit the print button up here, or it'll automatically print if you've selected print score sheet right here. And then you'll just go ahead and post that out outside. Now, at the end of the event, you may want to verify that all the scores are in. So what you can do is quite simply go to Scores menu number 7, Verify Scores. Since we're working on the first event, we're going to select Event 1, and then we'll select Run. So here we can see that 19 post 5 didn't have a score, 19.4, 2.5, which we can expect, 18.1, and so we'll just go through the list, and then we'll try, if we notice that a whole squad is missing, we'll go try to find that score sheet and see if we didn't have it entered in. Now, another thing that you can do is only look for sub-event 1, which will see if somebody didn't shoot their first house. And that's probably the best way to check. Okay, so moving on, let's go ahead and talk about the rolling scoreboard. So in order to access the rolling scoreboard, you can find that underneath Scores menu number 8, Rolling Scoreboard. You'll get this message saying that we do not suggest that you run this on the server machine. You can just ignore that. And now here we're presented with quite a few options. Now I did notice that this says that we are in event number 2. What we need to do is I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. And the rolling scoreboard is going to run off of whatever the current event is down here. So I'm going to bump that down to number 1. We're going to go ahead and reopen the rolling scoreboard. And then here we have quite a few options. Over here with the URL, that is where you can display a IP camera to show the rolling or the on deck board. A few clubs do this. I know that the New York State ATA in Cicero, New York uses that. I actually helped them put in that system. And then you can tell it to show every time that the scoreboard switches from all scores to AA, or you can say that you only want it to show up before it shows all scores. So now underneath delay, that's going to be how long that screen is going to show. So for example, on all scores, it'll show for 7 seconds, then move off to AA, which will show for 7 seconds, so on and so forth. However, if you do click the scroll button, what this is actually going to do is it's going to start at the top score of that event, and then it's going to move the cursor down 3 positions every seconds. So let's say that we had 15 scores in. The cursor would move 5 times over the course of 35 seconds. So all scores would be shown for 35 seconds, and it'll scroll through everybody. You can also specify minimum show time. So let's say that you only had 3 scores in a category, but you want it to show up longer than 7 seconds. You can say, I want it to have a minimum show time of 10 seconds, and then regardless of what the delay is set to, that screen will show up for 10 seconds. And you can also say that you want to limit the number of top scores to be shown. So if you're running a large state shoot, you can say, I only want the top 10 scores to be shown. And so that'll show from 100 to 90. And that's all the people that'll show up. And then from here, over going to the right a little bit more, you can see that we have 2 options, hide blank traps and full screen. I'm going to uncheck full screen since I am only recording on the one screen right now, and that's just going to prevent the rolling scoreboard from actually taking up the entire screen. And hide blank traps is only something that you need to worry about for doubles. So now that we have everything configured, I'm going to go ahead and click Run. It's going to say that all the controls are hidden. If you want to show the controls, click Show Controls. I'm going to say OK. And now I'm going to make this full screen so you can see all the scores. Now, do you notice this green bar down at the bottom that's saying test over and over again? This is how we can message our shooters using the rolling scoreboard, similar to visual paging at an airport. So now, in order to change what our visual pager is saying, I'll go ahead and shrink this down and move it off to the upper left-hand side of the screen. We can go to Utilities menu number 15, Shooter Messages, and here we can modify the message. So instead of saying test, I'm going to say. So as you can see, what I've entered in now shows up on the left hand on the rolling scoreboard. So I can say, and then after a few seconds, my next message is going to show up on the rolling scoreboard, as it does there. And so as it rotates, it's going to change colors. That way it can grab the shooter's attention. Now, if you want to delete a record, what you can do is you can press Control and Delete at the same time. It'll ask you if you want to delete it. Say OK, and now that message will not show up anymore. So I can do the same thing for all the messages, and then there will not be any messages that'll show up. So it'll just show a blank line, and then the next time that the box goes up, it won't come back down until we put in a message. Just like that. And then if I were to put in a message again, and in order to save the message, use the arrow key. So I can either press the up arrow or the down arrow to save the message. I'm going to go ahead and press the up arrow, and now here in a few seconds, our message will show up on the rolling scoreboard. You can also see the scrolling happening. See how we're moving down 3 records. So here in about 5 seconds, Vaughn will become the top record, and it's moved down 3. And then once we hit the end of our scores to be shown, this will go ahead and move off to the individual classes. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that and close out of the shooter messages. So the next thing I'd like to show you is how to pull a trophy report. So from the reports menu, go to report number 1, high gun reports, and then select trophy. Now here we can say that we are running a 1 event report. We're only going to run it on event 1. I can either filter by in and out of state, or I can have everybody together, which is what I'm going to do. And then you can also break it down by special classes. So there will be a special report for each special class. So starting out, I'm just going to show you how to run it for a single event, like here. So print 1 event, preview report, there's no filters, and we're going to print out event 1. So I'm going to go ahead and click run. And here you can see our report, trophy report, and we can just go ahead and print that out. Close it. Now, if I want to do a in and out of state report, if I click in and out, the first thing that's going to show up is going to be all of our in-state shooters. So in this case, this is from Wyoming. And I have switched around all of the names in the database, so actually none of the names match anybody who lives in Wyoming, hopefully. So then when we close out of our local shooters, and it'll reopen and show us all of our out-of-state shooters. Now the other option that we have with that same report is to do a special class group. So we're going to print out for event number 1 by special classes. And what that's going to do is, at first it's going to give us a normal trophy report. Then it'll break down starting with Lady 1, Lady 2, Sub-Junior, Junior, Junior Gold, Sub-Vet, Vet, Senior Vet, and then it'll automatically close itself when you're done. And there's one more thing that you can do. So down here in the taskbar, you can see where there's shooter score. We can click on that. And if we open up any one of these shooters, it'll allow us to print out a scores report for that shooter to take with them. And that wraps up how to do everything in 3S with scores. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at support@shootingsportsoftware.com or call us at 1-801-396-7800. If you like that video, hit the thumbs up button. If you'd like to see when we post new content, hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to receive notifications on when we post new videos, hit the bell icon. Thanks for watching.